Welcoming everyone to a live Seahawks Aftermath. I'm your host, Bryce Coots, and with me today, my co-host in crime, Michael Thompson, joining me from Field Goals, and we're going to break down the Seahawks-Falcons win, I should say, in that case, where the Seahawks dominated the Falcons. We'll talk a couple Seahawks updates from today and this week through Mike Macdonald's press conferences and kind of get everyone caught up to speed, as well as we will start previewing this matchup with the Indianapolis Colts and the chaos at the quarterback position. Mike, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's the home stretch, right? Like, it's an uneven season now with 17 games, but it kind of always felt like the final 4 games is the home stretch, and we're here. Feel like we took care of business with our cupcake month of football after the Rams game, and I don't think the Colts game has ended up looking like what we thought it was, which I know we're going to talk about in a bunch of ways, but it's the home stretch. It's playoff mode, division title mode, NFC number 1 overseed, like go mode. And so I'm really excited.
So before we get into all of that and those fun topics to discuss, just a reminder for everybody, if you haven't already, click that like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification button. It helps me out, helps the show out, helps grow the channel. We're so close. I think we're 3 away from 1,500, trying to get to 2,000 before the end of the Seahawks season. I just put in my credentials for Senior Bowl, so hopefully I'll be able to head down there this year coming up and give you guys some awesome Senior Bowl access going into next season. So with all of that being said and the little bit of housekeeping taken care of, we'll get into this conversation about the Falcons game and the Colts preview right after this. Let's get into some of these Seahawk updates. So obviously Mike Macdonald had his Wednesday press conference today. We found out that Eric Saubert and Jalen Sundell is going to be coming off of IR into their designated windows of return. Oh, Mike, I think you got your thing a little close there, my friend. It's a little crackly on your end there. There you go. So those guys are coming back. Riley Mills participated as a full participant today in practice, which I think is great to see if his recovery to coming back is going to be able to participate at the end of the season. But Mike, I'll ask you this right off the bat. Where do you think Jalen Sundell figures into this offensive lineup once he comes back? And is he going to be back, do you think, for this matchup Sunday versus Colts?
I mean, it's great that he's ready to get going and open up the practice window. I don't feel like this is necessarily the game. Not trying to like spoil how I think the game on Sunday is going to go, but I don't know if this is necessarily the game that you feel like you have to rush him back for. But if you have the intention of playing him against the Rams, I almost kind of feel like I need to see him before the Rams because of how massively important that game's going to be. And so I'm kind of in that weird window of like, well, if he's not ready to play on Sunday for the Rams game, I kind of want to wait. And then if he's not ready to play, like I kind of almost don't want to see him in the Rams game. So for me, it's almost like, all right, well then take a couple more weeks off and we'll see you in Carolina because you'd be getting ready for the 49ers game, right? You got two essentially like, I kind of wrote about it today for my 4 Down Territory. You have 2 franchise-altering games in the next 2 weeks, and so you need to avoid the trap games to get to those franchise-altering moments. Sundell, you and I have talked about it. You've been one of the biggest Sundell guys since preseason in the summer. I've been a big Oluwatimi guy from the draft process and stuff. I think you and I are kind of in the same boat, whereas like Olu maybe has a higher floor, but Sundell's ceiling, in my opinion, is much higher. And I think there's also like something you and I've talked a little bit about is like, can Sundell come in and become Olu's backup and also fight for some spots time at guard, specifically with Bradford. Now we're going to talk about Bradford and what coach brought up this week and how he feels Bradford's playing. So that idea may not be as strong as it felt like it was a week ago. But in my opinion, if he's ready to go, like let's let him compete against Olu. That's kind of where I am as a coach. Like let the best two guys play. They battled all summer in preseason and Sundell won. And then due to injury, Olu has come in. And I don't think he's done anything to necessarily lose the job. I don't think Olu has done necessarily anything to tell Sundell, see you later, man. This is my house. Like I'm running the show. And so if Sundell is able to come back and be that guy and push Olu, like there's a reason why Macdonald and Kubiak and Benton chose to go that route before the season. And if Sundell gives the Seahawks a better chance to unlock their rushing attack and protect Bradford, as you know, this Kubiak scheme is very important. The center calling out, all the things that you have to do in that scheme. It's almost like a backup quarterback on the field at all times. If Sundell's the better player and gives us a better chance to get the 1 seed, you have to roll with him. If you're concerned about the health, then I run with Oluwatimi for another week or two.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting you bring up that the communication factor in this O-line and how it's been, because the last 2 weeks have been tough in pass protection in a lot of ways. They've given up a couple more sacks than normal going into it. You think they were going into it 2 weeks ago. They had I think I could be wrong here, but I think it was around 11 sacks total for the season, and they've given up a few more than that. It's interesting because me and Dan Viens from Seahawks Forever just did our Hawks Film Lab, which Dan just released, and I'll be releasing shortly later this week on my channel over here. But we broke down the pass protection issues in the Vikings and the Falcons games. And one of the things that stood out to me greatly in those, and we'll get to Bradford in a minute, was I feel like there was some confusion in pass protection sets from Olu and what he was maybe calling or what he was seeing that led to some of the miscues that made it look like other guys had drastically failed their jobs. Bradford being one. Zabel looked rough in the Falcons game. That's where I wonder with this, Olu, I think, has a good floor, but to the point, Sundell has a higher ceiling. And I've gone back and forth. I said that, I thought Olu's made a bigger difference in the run game, but then there's been issues in his pass protection. There's a few times, especially in the Falcons game and even in the Vikings game, where he just got completely swam. Like he looked like he was out of place. Sundell as a pass protector was a much better center, in my opinion. And I've been a big Sundell fan. I think, and this is the key thing I said on Dan's show of our Hawks Film Lab, was I think Sundell's been sitting there going, okay, these are the things I was missing when I was playing in the run game. These are things now I know better now that I've been able to sit back and not be in the fire trying to do it. I've been able to sit back, watch it, see it happen live when we've made these corrections and kind of move forward that way. I think if Sundell's healthy, and by the way Mike kind of talked about it today, I think there's a chance Sundell goes back to being the starting center. And I know a lot of people like, oh, put Sundell in at right guard, put him in at right guard, get Bradford out of there. And let's talk about that a little bit. Mike gave some pretty high praise to Anthony Bradford in his Monday morning press conference, and even to a point, even talked about him a little bit again today, but really in the Monday one, saying he graded out as their highest offensive lineman. And I've gone back and watched every single Anthony Bradford snap since the Rams game. Anthony Bradford, if you watch the TV copies and you see it live in person in that exact moment, yes, it looks, there's some bad reps. I won't deny that. Overall, it has not been as bad as what some TikTok guys out there want to make it seem.
Yeah, I agree. Like you pull up anyone's highlight in the NFL, I can make them look like an all-pro Hall of Famer with the right amount of highlights. And with anyone's lowlights, I can make Tom Brady look like the worst quarterback to ever walk on the face of the earth if I choose the correct highlights. I've got 20 plus years of highlights, lowlights that I can choose from. Like I can add a pretty nice montage of pick sixes and sacks and fumbles and stuff. And that's kind of what happens with, when you're not playing well. And I think it kind of goes back to, again, like it was made very clear, like this team's going to become a rushing attack football team. We're going to bring in Kubiak. We're going to bring in all these former 49er coaches and Houston Texan coaches. And we're just going to play some smash mouth football and control the clock because we can't throw the ball. And I think that's kind of what's made this year so special is like we've been amazing, but in ways that we didn't necessarily think. I think we thought the defense was going to be really good, but I think the defense has probably, in my opinion, has blown away my expectations for the most part. And then offensively, just the way we've been successful has been so enjoyable to watch. But there's something about Seahawks football, right? If you grew up in the early 2000s in the LOB era, like Seattle is built on opportunistic defense, turnovers, and then just a potent rushing attack. You can even go back to the 80s, right? Like the Seahawks run the football. Chuck Knox, Holmgren, Pete Carroll, we run the football. Mike Macdonald is exactly like that. And to see this team still continue to not have had like that rush for 230 yards, like the Kenneth Walker 70-yard touchdown run, the jet sweep that goes for 40 yards. Like we have never had that, but I still feel like you and I have talked about this every week. I feel like we get 1 or 2% better at running the football, 1 or 2% running the football. And yeah, it has not broken out. Like we're not going to be the 2023 49ers or the 2019 49ers or the Arian Foster Houston Texans under, the Kubiak era and Shanahan style. Like that's just not going to happen. But again, it just, I don't know. It's an interesting thing with what they're going to end up doing there at that thing. I think one thing that I don't know if I had a chance to bring it up with you with the center spot going back to Sundell. I feel like once Sundell got hurt, the selection of the types of running plays changed dramatically.
Yes,
like when's the last time you saw a toss? Or like even like the long stretches, I feel like have kind of disappeared and stuff. It seems like we're just going right up the middle. Do you think that is because of Olu? Do you think that's because Sundell is out? Like I even feel like some of the traps are gone.
So what week did Sundell get hurt in again? Refresh my memory.
Was it the Rams game he got hurt? Or no, Gray Zabel got hurt in the Rams
No,
game.
he got hurt in the Texans game, I think, wasn't it?
Monday Night Football.
Which would have been, which week did we play the Texans? Was it week 6 or week 7?
I think so. Yeah, because I think that got us to 5-2, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I believe you're right. So if I go into this and I click, I'm just looking here. Sorry, everybody. Just doing something on my website here, trying to pull up a bunch of information and data points. So Seahawks runs from week 1 to 7. Inside zone, 18% click. And outside zone was at a 26% click.
Cardinals. He got hurt against the Cardinals.
Sorry?
He got hurt against the Cardinals.
Which week was that?
Week 10.
Okay, sorry. Let me add a couple more weeks then. Week 9. Week 9. Week 10. Okay. This will give me. Okay. So numbers stay relatively the same. 18% inside zone, 28% outside zone. They ran power at 10% and they ran man, so duo and gap power stuff, 28. So they were really an outside zone, gap, trap, power team with Sundell. If I go from week 11 onward to we're up to week 14 now, correct?
Yeah.
Jesus, NFL season's just flying by.
Oh. It's fun when you're winning.
So they have gone 31% outside zone, 19%, almost 20%, I should say, inside zone. Their power number has dropped to 9. So power's gone. And their man has come down to like 21%. So you're seeing a change there. They've been primarily going to the inside-outside zone, which was there initially, but their power and their man stuff and even their counter stuff has all dropped off.
I wonder if this is just them saying, hey, for this year, this is what gives us the best chance with Sundell, Olu combo with whatever they're good at. And then also, what can we do to put Bradford in the best position possible to be successful?
Well, and that's what I'll say about Bradford. So, like, I'll look at it this way. I think, as crazy as it may sound to some, after going back and watching a bunch of the film, Bradford is the best option at right guard for this team because he can anchor to an extent. They don't really have anybody else. Like Zabel's struggling to anchor. He did in the last 2 games. Olu struggles to anchor. Well, if you got one guy that can at least anchor on a part of that interior, you're okay. I will say this. I don't think Anthony Bradford is on the Seahawks roster in 2026. I think they know that this is an area that they need to get a better guard in that fits their scheme, because watching even some of the run plays, because Anthony Bradford struggles to get to the second level, your zone breaks and it falls apart. And that's why I think now with Sundell, and I think why they'll put Sundell back in, is Sundell at least gives you a little bit better second level cutoff. But there's things too, like pass protection wise, that I noticed, watching back, and I talked about it in the film lab today, was defenses are figuring out how to confuse the Seahawks O-line because they're trying to build continuity. They're trying to bring these young guys together, which again, they're not going to do it in one season. They're going to get better, which they have. From week 1 to now, the Seahawks offensive line is better.
Yes.
But they're not a cohesive group yet. And that's one thing I think Brian Flores has taken a good, an ability taking down really easily. Chris Shula did it with the Rams. And even Raheem Morris did it with the Falcons to an extent, is creating overload situations on who's coming, who's not coming, who's dropping. And what it then in turn does is it causes confusion on the interior, and they call something, and then the guys are responding to the way they've called it, and they're letting easy interior pressure get to Sam.
Yeah.
And the worst thing for a quarterback is interior pressure.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point with just kind of like what Flores did, and you look at the next 4 games, right? Like, yeah, the Colts are pretty beat up, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but they have a very experienced defensive coordinator, and then you've got this crazy trio to finish out the year of defensive coordinators with Shula. I hope I don't butcher his name. Is it Evero for Carolina?
Yep. And
Evero, who's probably going to be probably going to get some more head coaching interviews this year. Evero for sure is, and then Saleh is probably going to be one of the hotter names on the market. Like our offensive line is going to get put to the absolute test in these final 3 games. And I wouldn't even put it past the Colts, especially if Buckner can play. And, you just never know what Lou can pull out there as the defensive coordinator. And, they were great not too long ago. And it kind of feels like injuries have overtaken that team, but you still don't know. Like, this offensive line, like you said, has grown a lot, right? It's young. This is a line that's going to be the core of it is going to be around for the next couple of years, and hopefully for a lot of wins and hanging some banners. But this is part of the growing pains, is what are you going to do in this final month stretch?
Totally agree. Well, Mike, I haven't had a chance to talk to you since the big win over the Falcons. So let's kind of look at this, win. The first question I got for you, in your opinion, is this one of the most complete wins of the season for the Seahawks, where you got to see all 3 phases really have moments of dominating?
Kind of hard to, man, I'm going to say it's up there. I'm going to say it's probably a notch below that Cardinals and Saints. I do think the Falcons are a notch above the Cardinals and Saints. It's hard not to forget how rough offensively that first half was, right? Against Atlanta, like, we were really struggling. That first drive was a nightmare. Like, it was one of those things like, oh my gosh, is Sam Darnold going to get sacked 8 or 9 times type of a vibe. But defensively, they held strong. And it just, the special teams was amazing. The defense really was I thought was very good. I'm not going to say great. I think the Falcons moved the ball on Seattle maybe a little bit more than I thought. And I think one thing that people forget is they were marching towards the red zone after we had gotten the Rashid Shaheed touchdown before Bijan fumbled the ball, right? And obviously we forced that fumble. That's great. But like, that was a couple drives where they were continually moving the ball. Now, that being said, we have not given up a touchdown in 2 games. So our defense is doing a damn good job and stuff. But that second half, man, that might be the best second half of Seahawks football I've seen this year. Like, considering I think the Falcons are just a better football team than the Saints. Like, you put up 31 points, you dominated in special teams, you forced turnovers when you needed to, you put so much pressure on Kirk Cousins, and even your backups looked like you were better than their starters. And so, yeah, I would say that second half is right up there with one of the best 2 or 3 performances we've seen this year. And I think what was most important, I think for a lot of Seahawks fans, was just the sigh of relief of seeing Darnold look like that MVP caliber Darnold after he threw that terrible interception in that first half, pretty much from that play on, he was magnificent. JSN was magnificent. We got to see Rashid Shaheed and what can happen when you let this guy get out and run. I thought the offensive line played better in the second half. Bradford did play good. We didn't run great, but we ran well enough, and it felt like we were starting to have that complete game where it did feel like a dominating game. But I think if you like those, it was just a tale of two different halves, honestly. What about you? What'd you think?
I thought this was probably their most complete win in the sense that you didn't like, yes, it was 6-6 at half. The offense was struggling, but your special teams had a big play.
Yep.
Two big plays. You had the blocked field goal and you had the kickoff return. Your defense from start to finish played well. They really started to turn it on in the second half there. And then your offense came to life. And the thing that for me, though, that, again, I wouldn't say it's the most complete team win of the year. I'd say it's one of them. You can't have the offensive first half that we've been having. And this is my biggest concern with Kubiak. This is why I am not on the Kubiak's and head coach candidate type of hype train that a lot of people are on. Because I know if I'm an owner and I'm sitting there, or I'm a GM and I'm trying to hire my next offensive, or next head coach, and I want to go offensive minded, a guy that has this many problems playing against teams, in the 49ers and Rams that understand his offensive philosophy, and he goes so off script of what they do or what they're supposed to do. And then even a guy that when teams figure out how to attack his quick passing game, that's the biggest thing. Like, and this is the one thing I noticed over the last few weeks is Seattle, since that Rams game, the Seahawks have struggled with their quick passing game. And there's two things that I've noticed teams are doing. They're lining up more guys at the line of scrimmage and creating confusion with the O-line, but they're also not banking on getting to Sam. They're banking on getting their hands up. And they're starting to figure out the tendencies of Kubiak on what he likes to call, the route concepts that he likes to call in the quick game, whether it be the hook or the snag routes where it's a slant and the sit, just in behind that nickel defender. And the other thing that he's been caught, and I've noticed it the last 2 weeks with the Vikings and Raheem Morris and the Falcons, who, again, have two of the better defensive minds, and Raheem Morris and Brian Flores as play callers, is Kubiak's adjustment to when he feels pressure is, A.J. Barner, you're staying in the block.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of times I saw Van Ginkel or one of the linebackers from the Falcons kind of act like they were going to come off the edge, and A.J. Barner shifts in and sits there, and then the guy just stands up and stares at A.J. Barner until he releases. And it's like, okay, so you've committed A.J. Barner out of your pass concept into blocking, and they're not even rushing the guy that he's supposed to take over. So that's where I feel like Kubiak's got to start figuring out his counter punches going into the playoffs. And then the way he started in the Atlanta game drove me absolutely nuts. Why are we calling 3 straight passes within our own 12-yard line? Like, it made absolutely no sense to me. Screen, drop back, put Sam in those situations. And then even to that point, Sam's interception. And I get Sam threw the ball. Okay, it was a contested throw. He got to his second read. He did have Walker right in front of him. He really should have just ran it. But why are we even putting Sam in that position, Mike? Why are we not just running the ball and going, okay, if we don't get it on this barnyard or we punt it, and we have an elite defense that comes onto the field that is likely going to stop the Falcons, and we get the ball in better field position. It's things like that with Kubiak that drive me absolutely up the wall, because it's like there's such a rookie mistake for a guy that's supposedly been in the NFL for so long, that should understand the flow of the games better. And when you have an elite defense, play to that strength.
Couldn't agree more. He strikes me as a guy that probably needs another 20 plus games as an offensive coordinator to learn through these processes, right? He strikes me as the offensive coordinator that needs some playoff reps, some painful experiences probably, right? Before I'm going to hand him the keys to the franchise. And you nailed it. Like, and I don't know if PFF can pull it up. Has the barnyard play ever failed if you take away, I think there's been 2 false starts from it.
Yeah.
I cannot remember a time that the barnyard play has not resulted in achieving its goal, whether that is a touchdown or a first down. Can you remember a time it has failed?
Not to my knowledge.
Then
no.
again, people hate the Eagles because when they were winning, they would do that play and they would never do anything else, right? It's when they got cute that something weird would happen. But like, it's 3rd and 1. You've got 2 chances, right? I think they were at their 30-yard line, right? Like maybe they're not going to go for it. But you've got 2 chances to run that beast. All right? He is a beast. He like might be the only one that can be in the same area code as what Jalen Hurts provides in that play, right? And so I don't understand. Like, when's the last time you saw a 3rd and 1 play action pass result into a successful play? It just feels like it's a less than 50% clip when you have the Barner play. And I would love to know if Mike's like, no, I only want to use that on the plus side of the field or this, like whatever that reason would be. I can't think of it because it feels like it is a automatic first down. And so I don't know why we don't just spam that play. That might just be Kubiak being like, it's boring. I want to do something else. I want to do this play action. I want to work this play out. Cause yeah, like, as a play caller, a play action, like that's fun. Like that's a fun play to design. It's fun when it works. It's really sexy. You're kind of misdirecting everyone. It may be not the same as the smash mouth barnyard play, but like, why are we screwing around? Why are we playing with our food? Like run Barner through the middle, get that first down. Maybe that game even changes more and we win. It doesn't matter, but maybe we win that game, 42-6. I don't know.
The other thing that drove me nuts in this game was the lack of moving Sam. And this is what drove me nuts with Grubb last year. And this is something I talked about in the offseason where I said, hey, we're getting Clint Kubiak. Like, we're going to see the pocket be moved. We're going to see boots. We're going to see sprint outs and that. We see them very selectively from Kubiak, and it makes no sense. Like, he's great calling play fakes that set Sam up in the pocket.
Yeah.
But move the pocket. Make it so these edge rushers can't tee off on where Sam's roughly going to be, because there have been sacks, in my opinion, that have literally been a derivative of, hey, you're not moving your pocket enough, and it doesn't matter if you play fake. The edge rushers are still shooting upfield because they don't think Sam's coming out on the edge. Mm-hmm. And we saw Sam's got the athleticism. He needs to use his legs more. I've been one of the biggest components of that. Like, get Sam on the perimeter and say, hey, look, if it's read 1 and read 2 aren't there, tuck it and go for 7. Yeah. He had 3 carries for 23 yards in this game. It was a huge game changer with him.
It was
on a couple of those runs, putting us in 2nd and short. Like, that's where he's going to need to do against the Rams, against the Panthers, against the 49ers. And even he may need to do it this weekend versus the Colts. There's things with me with this offense where I just look at it and I go, like, why did it take us so long to figure out, hey, guess what? Rashid Shaheed's pretty fast. Or Rashid Shaheed, I should say.
Know,
sorry,
I always butcher that. Say it wrong. They'll let you hear about it. My bad.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed. If you run him on the over route with JSN clearing out, he might be open. There was one play where the Falcons, I think, dropped 8 into it might have been, and he still runs the deep over route and catches it for whatever.
Yeah, there was one guy rushing the passer, and he hit.
It was dropped 10 into coverage. Yeah, and you found him open. Like, this was what you needed from your number 2 receiver, and then Cooper Kupp got a little bit involved, and you saw Kupp get a touchdown and such. Like, this was probably the most, in my opinion, in the second half, the best usage of getting other guys involved, which still led to JSN having almost 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right. On Terrell, who hadn't given up a touchdown in a year, and he cooked them. Yep. No, I got to ask you, I wrote about it today with Rashid Shaheed. That kickoff return, that breakaway speed, that explosiveness, does that remind you of a player from Seahawks past? He may have gotten punched in the Super Bowl. Or before the Super Bowl.
I know who you're thinking.
Did you get any Percy Harvin vibes from that breakaway speed and just the way he would? I couldn't help but notice it. Right? It just, like, he just looks like he has a completely different gear, man. And if you can get that guy into open space, it's over.
The thing for me, when I watched him move in that, I didn't get Percy vibes. I got Leon Washington vibes.
Ooh, I like that. That's
like, he's just so quick and sudden. And that was something Leon was so good, especially on the kickoffs. Like, Percy could go left and right and do something, and Shaheed probably can as well. But the way that kickoff return was, it was like watching the one against the Chargers where Leon just takes it and makes one guy miss and he's gone, and you're not getting anywhere near him.
Considering the opponent and the potential opponent this Sunday, can we have Leon Washington raise the 12th man flag on Sunday for what he did to Phillip Rivers and the Chargers? If you guys remember, Leon Washington had two kickoff return for touchdowns?
Yes.
And that was like the first big win. I should say the second big win of like the Pete Carroll era. Because that first win against the 49ers was cool in that week one. But like the Chargers were like a Super Bowl dark horse that year. I think they made the playoffs that year. And basically we just beat them because we had special teams plays left and right. And then Earl got, I think, one of his first interceptions in that game against probably the very end of prime Phillip Rivers, I'd say. The end of his prime, but yeah, good old Leon Washington vibes. But no, like unlocking Shaheed. That was a trade package that I think a lot of us were like, man, really excited to have him. But that was that's a real trade. You gave up some assets. Some what was that, a fourth and a fifth, right? In a draft where, yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot, but now you've only got 4 picks. And so I think we were all expecting him to immediately step in and be this amazing player. And I think you kind of hit on it on our last show. Like, there's a difference between being the number 1 receiver that gets traded and being the second or probably the third guy. And it's taken a few weeks, but when push came to shove, something got unlocked. I don't know if it was going no huddle, but we got him enough time, and it was basically just running some routes of like, hey, Shaheed, we don't need you to run, the go route, but can you run 15 yards down the field and head across and just outrun your guy? And we hit that twice for a 16-yard play that led to a field goal, and then the 33-yard reception where it looked like he was just toying with defenders before he went out of bounds. Like, that's that speed and that juice that we just don't exactly have right now without Horton. And so to have that is really nice. As you said, I think it opened some stuff up for Cooper Kupp, and he looked good in his 2 receptions. He looked like a fullback when he caught that ball for a 20-yard catch and plow through people, and then that touchdown looked really nice.
All right, the last piece I want to touch on in this game here, Mike, is a rookie that I think is going to possibly win Defensive Player of the Year if he has a couple more games, not even in the same ballpark of this, but just as impactful. And that's Nick Eamon-Warry. He has been absolutely phenomenal since he's come back from his injury, which I think really robbed him of just running away with Defensive Player of the Year. Those first,
yeah.
But like, we're talking about a guy that blocked a field goal, got a sack, broke up a pass, had 6 total tackles, 2 for losses, and a QB sack. Like, the guy's all over the place. And in the fact that he can play that spot so well, I think it has also allowed Devin Witherspoon to become a true shutdown style corner like he was at Illinois on the outside. To have those 2 in your secondary just seems unfair. It's like when you played, fantasy draft in Madden, and you went into the season, you picked the team you wanted to use, but every player was free to go, and you picked both of those guys on your roster. It seems a little unfair. And to be honest, even Reek Woolen is playing as a top 15 corner right now. You have 3 guys in that secondary, not to mention Kobe Bryant and Julian Love's now coming back, and Ty Okada. Like, that secondary is scary.
I think before the season started, you and I both thought, along with some of our shows with Mookie and Dan, we thought the secondary probably was going to be the best in the NFL, right? Like, I think we thought that was very much on the table. And I think what this pass rush has done this year, our defensive tackles, the way Ernest Jones has been kind of like an underrated dark horse Defensive Player of the Year kind of a guy, if you really look at those stats, like, it kind of has overshadowed the secondary, and like some of the Reek Woolen drama and that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game kind of made that conversation go away with the secondary. I would say for the last month, I would say honestly, probably for the last 6-7 weeks, this secondary has been the best secondary in the NFL. And now you get Eamon-Warry back, and you get, in the way he not only has come back, he's come back and he looks like he's Mike Macdonald's like queen on the chessboard. He can do anything he wants with him. You want to shut down a player, he'll go shut down a player. Wide receiver, a tight end, you want him to come down and shut down the rushing game in the box. Like, he is punishing people, and you nailed it. He has allowed Devin Witherspoon to be the man that we thought he was going to be these last couple weeks. And last Sunday was the best game I think we have seen Devin Witherspoon since that Monday night game when he announced himself to the country. And I think the whole NFL world was like, oh, okay, well, Seattle just took the next great defensive back, and we just haven't seen that type of player since. And as we talk about it again, when you're not asking Reek Woolen to be the alpha, he's amazing as your number 2 or number 3 guy, right? And then Ty Okada has been a revelation. Kobe Bryant's playing like a guy that wants to get paid this summer. Julian Love, getting him back has been fantastic. Like, again, I think it is without question. I'm with Greg Olson. Without question, I think this is the best defense in the NFL. And Houston's got a damn good defense. They've got that alpha pass rusher with Will Anderson, right? Seattle does not have that guy, but it's the depth. It's the amount of red chip level players, the amount of like fringe Pro Bowl players that's been great. And now I don't think we necessarily thought this was going to happen, but like Eamon Worry looks like the best player on the field on defense. And if it's not him, Spoon looks like the best player on defense when he's out in the field. And so now it's like, well, maybe you just unlocked 2 blue chip players, right? You might have drafted one, and then Eamon Worry might have helped unlock Spoon to becoming a blue chip guy. And now it's like, you need some blue chip guys to go to a Super Bowl and to hang banners. And it looks like we might have gotten that, even though these guys are still really young and raw.
So if I was to look at blue chip players currently on the Seahawks defense,
okay,
I've got to throw blue chip wise as of, I'd say, the bye to where we are now. So let's go from the bye to where we are now.
Yep.
Big Cat's 1.
Yes.
Byron Murphy's 2.
Yes. He's going to be the top defensive tackle Pro Bowl voter this year. That's insane.
Ernest Jones.
Yes.
Is 3.
Nick
Eamon Worry's 4.
Looks that
Devin
way. Devin
Witherspoon is 5.
Okay.
And as crazy as this sounds, Reek Woolen is 6. Since his concussion, Reek's come back with a vengeance.
I think you've got like you can make a case that almost your entire starting defense is red chip.
Oh, it is. Oh,
like
it is.
Tank and Nwosu are very clear red guys, right? Like Tank Lawrence probably should end up in the Pro Bowl, in my opinion. I don't know if he'll get there, but we'll see if he does. And then, like you said, Big Cat, Murphy, Ernest, and this secondary.
Drake Thomas has been playing like a red chip.
I think. Would you say the worst?
Derek Hall.
Yeah. Would you say the worst player that gets maximum stats is Josh Jobe, and even he's not a bad player? Like I would consider
he has struggled though. He has struggled the last 2 weeks.
The first month was holy crap. Did we just are we going to trade Reek Woolen because Josh Jobe and Kendrick are going to be amazing? Whereas now it's like, yeah, he looks like our 3rd or 4th defensive back on a great team, a great defense. Like it's not a knock. It's just probably like over the course of a full season, you're seeing the warts, the good and the bad of a Josh Jobe and stuff. And so I don't want him as my starting cornerback, but as our number 3 guy, absolutely.
You know what was interesting? I was going to say, it's the last thing I'll say on this game. Our run defense, there was one thing I noticed with it where it struggled. And I know we got Jaron Reed back, and I think Jaron Reed's going to take a week or so to get back to where he was. Brandon exiting that game with the knee injury when he did caused our run defense issues. Brandon Peely has turned into a very sneaky good addition to this team.
Good hit. Yep.
And I think that's something we all were worried about. Where's our nose tackle? Brandon Peely has been, I think, better than anyone thought. I looked at him in camp and went, I was really impressed. But Brandon Peely is someone that I am sneakily very happy with that the Seahawks have him because he is going to be your new run stopper.
Yeah. No, one of the comments here is the blue chip creator, Mike Macdonald. Like, honestly, it feels like that, right? Like everyone on this defense feels like they have elevated their game. And yeah, a lot of that's them and a lot of that is dirty, but like that's all. I mean, that's Mike Macdonald as well.
I'm going to say one other name. Other name is Carl Scott and that secondary and what he's been able to do with Kobe Bryant, Ty Okada, Nick Eamon Worry, Josh Jobe, like the list goes on and on with the secondary. Like, he is basically taken over the same role in developing players in Seattle's defense in the back end, like Chris Richard did when he was the defensive backs coach for the Seattle Seahawks in the Pete Carroll era.
No, you absolutely nailed it.
So let's have a look here and let's talk about this matchup coming up this Sunday versus the Colts, a game that I think a lot of us earlier in the season when these TU teams were rolling along, we were all like, oh, this is going to be a really good game. Daniel Jones was playing, really good football. That whole thing with that Colts team was like, wow, these guys look like they're going to be the power in the AFC. And then they've kind of hit a few speed bumps. And then personally, I think they drove off the cliff last weekend with Daniel Jones's injury, because part of this in this whole thing, and I think I put it in the thumbnail title, or maybe it was even in the title for this one, is the quarterback chaos that will ensue on Sunday in what will probably be a very wet Lumen field.
Mm-hmm.
You've got either rookie Riley Leonard potentially taking snaps, or you just called the equivalent of Burt Reynolds from The Longest Yard onto the field in veteran quarterback Phillip Rivers coming back to town off the couch after not playing since 2020. But, you've heard it all already. Oh, man, he already knows the plays because this is the same offense he runs with his high school kids. And he looks great throwing the ball in, T-shirts and shorts. And, man, if he goes out there, I think that you could call that elder abuse, in my opinion, if you put him out there in Seattle this Sunday.
So I'm fortunate enough to be going to the game, my first game of the year, and I am so excited to see a dude that's probably going to get voted. So, question: if he plays, does his Hall of Fame clock restart like it does in MLB or in the NBA, or can he play one or two games and then come back and still be in the Hall of Fame this upcoming season? I don't know what the rule is on that.
I believe if he dresses and plays, it resets his clock.
That's crazy. But I mean, they must. Man, I don't know. Like I said, do you think he's going to play?
No,
you don't.
Here's why I don't think he'll play. You're asking a guy to come in and get up to game speed at the age of 44. Now, I'm not saying he can't, but I think if Riley Leonard is good enough to go, and they do have Brett Rippon there on the practice squad that they will probably elevate.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that they might elevate all three, but it would be a situation where Phillip Rivers is the emergency third string quarterback in that situation where he doesn't count against them unless the other two go down. Like Riley Leonard, we don't know with his knee if he's going to make it through the game, especially if he's running for his life. But I think you'll see Brett Rippon before you'll see Phillip Rivers.
Okay. I think there's a very real chance if he's the emergency quarterback, we might see him. I think this defense is going to cause some pain. I really do. With the wet field and stuff, I'm really concerned about these Colts. I'm excited to go to the game, but it just feels like I'm trying to remember of a more desperate grasp for something than what we're seeing, which I'll give the Colts some credit, man. They don't want to go down swinging a brutal way that their seasons appears to be going down to the end. I think, but you bring up a good point. You might see Tyler Warren getting more, getting snaps at quarterback before you even see Phillip Rivers get snaps at quarterback at this stage. The Colts, they might lose it. They might struggle to score 10 points in this game, but they're going to, by golly, they're going to give Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren each the ball to run. They might touch the ball 40, 45 times on Sunday, no matter the score. They might just want to get out of there. I don't know. But again, if you just want to get out of there, why'd you even sign Phillip Rivers, I guess? Unless you're just focusing on, hey, we got to figure out how to win the last 3 games to sneak into the playoffs. But
Mookie puts it right there.
Good point. And it's not just the quarterback issue. They have injuries everywhere, right? This might be the most banged up team that the Seahawks are going to see this season.
Yeah, no, it very well. And when I think of a quarterback doing something like this, there's nothing of precedent to me where you've been out 4 years and come back. But if I had to think of a situation where a quarterback came kind of out of nowhere a little bit, who had somewhat quasi-retired, probably when Vinny Testaverde played for the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
And they lost David Carr and they lost Jake Delhomme for the season. And I think it was 2007. That is probably the one thing I can think of as a guy that showed up and there's Vinny Testaverde. I actually had a really good pull of a player on Dan's Hawk Film Lab today where I pulled out Ravel Martin because I looked at Cody White and they looked similar in their movement. And I kind of went, oh yeah. And then Ravel Martin made the guy. I was like, oh wait, no, that's Cody White. My bad. But there's a pull for you because I was watching the old wild card play-in game basically that Seattle had in 2010 versus the Rams. But I digress. But in this situation, like, I don't know a way that Jonathan Taylor doesn't get 30 carries minimum, because the weather is not going to be great. It's supposed to just be absolutely horrible. And again, for all of our, Washington viewers down there, hope you guys are all doing good with the floods and everything that are potentially coming and such that you guys are having to deal with. So I hope everyone's safe and doing well down there as well as you can, given the situation. But man, like, when you look at this offense, so let's just take a look at the Colts offense. They're about top 12 in points per game. They're sitting at 26.4, 355 yards on average per game. They're rushing for 128, which is top 10 in the NFL. They do have a very strong explosive run rate, though. And that's something I think, we saw a little bit of that happen in this game versus the Falcons, where Bijan got away a little bit. Jonathan Taylor, to me, is one of the best running backs in the NFL. I don't think that's a far stretch to say. I think he's up there in the top 5 for sure. They know that Seattle knows that's going to be their main source of, offense, because Tyler Warren's really their best receiving option. Yes, I know they got Michael Pittman and such, but really it's Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end. How do you think Seattle plays this game? Is it going to be similar to what we saw in the Minnesota game, where they just go blitz heavy, or do you think they kind of sit back a little bit and take the run away and then start bringing the pressure?
No, I think you're going to see almost the exact same scenario that you saw with the Vikings. I think it's going to be like a no mercy, like, welcome to the NFL, son. And it doesn't matter whether it's Riley Leonard, Brent Rippon, or even Phillip Rivers. Like, let's find out if your mental clock is prepared for what you're about to see on a rainy Sunday in Seattle, with fans that know we are one win away from arguably the biggest game of the NFL season in 4 days, right? Like, that's kind of like the mentality and stuff. I just think this place is going to be rocking. And I think Mike's not going to want to mess around. I think you might see a little bit of that same conservative play that we saw against the Vikings, but also remember, it took almost a full half for Kubiak to figure out how to put some points on the board against Brian Flores, minus that Ernest Jones pick 6 that kind of really opened things up for everyone and kind of let everyone breathe a little bit. I think that's the same thing that happened this Sunday with Rashid Shaheed on his kickoff return touchdown. It just let everyone breathe, right? And I feel like that's just what this team kind of is in right now, is like, we have the best defense in football. We're going to do everything we can not to screw it up. But the moment you give us an opening, hello, look out, here comes the floodgates. And that's when, like, it's Mike is like, kill him, basically. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see on Sunday. I think it's going to be like, we are going to really focus in on Jonathan Taylor, and we're going to force you into 3rd and 7 and long at all costs. And then we are going to pressure you and doesn't matter who the quarterback is, honestly. I mean, again, if Riley Leonard plays, he's really questionable to play because of a leg injury, correct? Or a knee injury.
Yeah.
And that's half the appeal with Riley Leonard, right? Is that he's a mobile quarterback that can create stuff. And if he can't, then Lord help Brett Rippon and Mr. Doggone Gamut, if it ends up being Mr. Phillip Rivers, the Hall of Famer. Like, if he I'm going to be rooting for him to get on the field. You're going to hear someone in the crowd being, put Rivers in. That's probably me, because I just want to see it, right? I just want to see this historic moment. I just want to hopefully, like, not see him go in and, like, be like one of those cartoon movies where the old guy gets in the field and it ends up in an ambulance leaving. Like, but I also don't want him to be doing what he normally does in Lumen Field, which is one step drop back and a quick little 5-yard hit, 7-yard hit, 8-yard hit. Like, and again, that was against the Pete Carroll era. I don't think Mike's going to let that happen and stuff. And again, it's not just the quarterback. There are so many injuries on these Colts that this feels like the game where it's like, hey, you guys had an incredible first half of the year, but, like, why don't you go to sleep? We're gonna turn the lights out for you guys, and as we make our push for the 1 seed.
So I got a couple key matchups. We just discussed one, really, which is the Seahawks run defense versus Colts ground game. Number 2 for me is Darnold and this Seahawks O-line versus the Colts pass rush, because the Colts are a top 10 team in sacks. The Seahawks have allowed, 2.4 sacks per game. It's kind of an interesting thing where, Darnold was upwards to 9 yards per attempt in this pass game versus the Falcons. Per pass attempt, I should say. again, we know that this team is probably going to bring some form of pressure to confuse this O-line, to cause problems. I think you're going to have to see more movement out of Sam in this game and designed pocket movement plays for the pass game. And it kind of leads into my second, or I should say my third matchup key here, Mike, which is JSN and Shaheed versus Colts secondary. The Colts allow 241 yards passing per game, and they're extremely vulnerable to explosive plays. Like, their corners get caught looking a lot in the backfield, especially on play action, and teams have taken a huge advantage. Key four for me, the Seahawks pass rush versus these Colts quarterbacks. Like, if it's Leonard, just don't let him get outside. Even if he is healthy enough, he's still going to move better than Phillip Rivers. Don't let him get outside.
Yeah.
If it is Rivers, bring the heat, like bring everything, and his timing is not going to be there for the quick game.
No, I agree. And again, you're talking about what Seattle is the best at, probably of anyone in the football or in the NFL, is our defensive tackles, right? And the pressure that Murphy and Leonard can create up that middle. Like, I just don't see how they're going to be able to put more than 2 scoring drives on the, and I'm talking about even field goals. Like, that's kind of where I'm at, is like, maybe we turn the ball over on accident because of the rain, something fluky happens, and then maybe they get one drive where they hit a big play or they get a pass interference thing, and that's kind of where you're looking at. Where as long as we just be ourselves, we're going to be fine. But like you said, especially with no Sauce Gardner, who also wasn't playing that great with the Colts, still very confused by that draft or that trade. This is again where, can you pound? I feel like you and I have been saying this every week on our show. Can you pound the rock enough to get that play action game going? Because if you do, I think Darnold's going to hit 1 to Shaheed and 1 to JSN, and then you're probably going to have a somewhat conservative offense the rest of the way, and you might get another scoring drive. And it's one of those things where I could see this being like a 28 or a 31-3 type of game. That's kind of where I'm leaning at with. It's just hard to see. But again, I also want to make sure our offense is ready to go for the Rams.
So you already kind of went into that, Mike. So I'll give kind of my score prediction on this, and I will do a live preview show prior to the Seahawks game. But my initial gut feeling right now, I think it's going to be like 24-10, 23-10. And the reason I say that, I think it's going to be a game where Seattle's completely in control.
Okay.
I don't think it's ever going to be in question. I think the weather is going to play a factor on how many points really get put on the board, because I could see some drop passes that should be touchdowns or key conversions because of how bad the rain's supposed to be. It's just one of those things where I think Seattle still wins it and is completely in control of the game. It's just not going to look necessarily as dominating as it could if it was dry and weather was better. So
I think that's a good thing for us to see what this offense does in that condition, right? If you're going to host 2 playoff games this year, like, that's the goal, right? If you're going to host, when we've been around it, like, as in the past, when the Seahawks are the 1 seed, usually at least one of those 2 games has been brutal weather. The Saints game was horrific, pouring down rain, crazy sideways wind. The game against the Panthers, when Cam Chancellor had the pick 6, like, that wasn't great weather and stuff. Even the Packers game was pouring rain in spurts during that game. Like, I'm trying to think, have we seen Sam Darnold in really bad conditions yet in Seattle? And I don't know if we have. In the cold, in the wet, I'm curious what that will look like, because that is a lot different than the weather we've seen so far. And how
well, we did see him playing it last year with Minnesota when he came to Seattle. It was wet, it was cold.
Yeah, and so that's just what I'm curious to see.
He has no issue spinning a wet ball. That's the one thing. It's going to be more, I think, on the other end of the guys hanging on to it. But Mike, one thing we're going to do here today before we get into our 12s Q&A blitz is we are actually going to do the 2-minute drill with you. So we haven't done this in a while, and I figured, why not do it on a live show? So we're going to get to the 2-minute drill. And if any of you viewers out there want to join in, put your answers for things in the comments, and we'll follow along with those as well.
Help me out.
You only get 1 timeout, Mike. They don't give you another timeout. You only have 1. So you better use it better than how Mike Macdonald uses them in a lot of these situations. Yeah. So we'll get into the 2-minute drill right after this. Go! All right, Mike. Question 1. Colts rushing over or under 115 yards?
Under.
Question 2. First Seahawks sack comes from who?
Byron Murphy.
Okay. Question 3. JSN over or under 85 yards and 1 score?
Over.
Okay. Question 4. Explosive plays or early down efficiency? What's more important for the Seahawks on Sunday?
Explosive plays.
Okay. First Seahawks touchdown on Sunday.
Cooper Kupp.
Interesting. Cooper Kupp. All right. Question 6. Darnold completion percentage over or under 67% on Sunday?
Under.
Okay. Question 7. Which defender forces the first turnover?
Julian Love.
Okay. Walker or Charbonnet? Who's going to lead in touches on Sunday?
Charbonnet.
Give me one X factor for this game.
Special teams. Bad weather. Special teams. I think we might see some missed field goals, and I think we'll see a special teams touchdown.
Okay. Seahawks win if they do this.
They don't give the Colts crap on a platter. Like, don't give them a pick six. Don't give them a fumble in the red zone. Don't give them a safety. Just get out of your own way and just take care of business. And you, again, like you said, you can walk out of here with a 16-3 or a 23-10 type of win. It's just don't screw up and do some of that stupid blank that we've seen sometimes.
All right. And that was the 2-minute drill. Well done, Mike. That was pretty quick for you, and there was no hesitation really, which was good to see.
Yeah.
So with that being said, with the final bit of time that we got on the show tonight, let's go into the 12th Q&A because there is 765 of you all watching.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic. Truly appreciate it. And if you are not subbed up to the channel, no better time than to do it right now while you're watching the show here. But let's take a look at what we've got in the chat. So we got John McGrath comes in. Great job on the Film Lab show, guys. Really enjoy those. Glad you enjoyed that, John. If you guys haven't taken a chance to go look at that, go over to Seahawks Forever. Dan's got it up already. I will have it up later this week on the Hawks Eye. But go check it out. We talked about the O-line and the pressure issues that they've had over the last few weeks. So if you want to check out our Film Labs, go over there and have a look. We got one from CK Seahawk. Mike, always enjoy your Seahawk expertise. There you go. Getting some love, man. Mike. And Appreciate I think someone made a comment about your actual headset and mentioned how goofy it looks. I love it because of the green. It matches perfectly with the Seahawk theme. So it's always good. We've got Sean in here. Goes, appreciate your coaching perspective on the historic Seahawks season. No problem. Anytime, Sean. All right, John, here we go. John McGrath. It doesn't matter who the QB is for the Colts at this point. They only have one offensive threat, and that's Taylor. Limit his production. We win. It's that simple. Rivers won't change that. I will say they have Taylor and Warren. Tyler Warren has been a very good young tight end this season for that team. I do agree with you, though, John, that really their main weapon is Taylor in that run game. And so I agree. If you shut him down, you should be in pretty good standing on Sunday. We got Sean the Scotchman in here. Hey Bryce, who do you think will compete for right guard next season? Cable to Haynes, etc. A vet in the offseason, draft in later rounds. So I do think it'll be Cable do. I think Haynes will probably be back. I don't think they're really going to jettison him off unless they get him in some sort of trade package. Mm-hmm. I think Mason Richmond is another name to add to that guard battle next year. I think that's another guy they're going to look at. I really do think and know from things I've heard from inside that they do like Cable do. There's a reason they've kept him active all year. There's a reason he's gotten reps at right guard in the last 2 games instead of Christian Haynes when they've gone to the backup role. I think there's a chance Cable do with an offseason of actually working it will be a guy that kind of really factors in. I also think it's going to be a veteran. I don't think Seattle, and this may drive people nuts, but I don't think Seattle's using a first-round pick on a right guard. They're going to look at trying to either sure else they feel that they need over that rather than, again, bringing in another rookie into this group. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I think they definitely like Cable do. I think if I was to bet on it, I would say they'll be interested. They were interested in Will Fries. I think that's a bullet that we dodged. I think we would both agree on that. They were definitely interested in the offensive line market. I think they're very particular of what they want, and if they get that, they will be aggressive. And then yeah, I think this is an interesting draft where maybe you do see a guy on day 2. I've been on record. I do not think the Seahawks will keep their first round pick. I think they will make a move for something, whether they win the Super Bowl or lose the Super Bowl or go one and done in the playoffs. I think they will use that first round pick to go get something to make this window not necessarily shorter, but more aggressive over the next couple of years. And I think everyone kind of knows who I'm thinking of. For that impact player. And then I think day 2, you only got 4 picks, so if it's interesting to see what they'll end up doing. But if there's a guy that makes sense in free agency, so I guess if I was a betting person, I'd say the most likely thing I would put money on is probably a pick in day 2. But I agree with you. It's like, man, do you really want to like trust a rookie to come in and make that better? It's just kind of going to come down to what the offensive staff and the draft team sees out there and feels like, nope, yep, I know he's a rookie, but he will be 5% better than what we have with Bradford. And then, cool, sign me up because it's cheap and it's if he's better than that, then you make the move.
Agreed. All right, we got Greasy in here going, John and Mike have built a bully. Yes, they have started to build a bully for sure. What else do we got? John McGrath back in goes, Mike Macdonald needs to manage the clock and timeouts better at the end of the first half too. They waste way too much time without calling timeouts. Yeah, I understand Mike's philosophy of not wanting to give the other team a possession, but I wonder in some respects, it's a little PTSD from last year when their offense would score and their defense had issues. Like, you have an elite defense, Mike, and you're playing these teams with not so good or not so functioning offenses. Put your defense back out there if you have to with 30 seconds left. And go and just at the end of the first half, go and, push the envelope, try and get a touchdown instead of settling for a field goal. Like, it's things like that sometimes that I wonder, like in the playoff, is that going to come back and bite us where we're going to, not really go for the touchdown here. We're going to go and we're going to give them little to no time and it still ends up backfiring.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, I feel like it's the same thing we're seeing almost every single week where they'll get to about midfield and have like a short play with like 50 seconds on or 40 seconds on the clock. And then they won't snap again until there's like 20 seconds on the clock. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, unless you're going deep, like you're not going to have a shot at the touchdown. And it's not even that we're settling for field goals. We're settling for like 55, 56 yard field goals. Like, we're asking Jason Myers to be amazing. And again, I go back to whether you're playing in Philadelphia or in LA or in Seattle in the playoffs, to ask that of your kicker in January is just, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not ideal. Like, you have, in your opinion, I think they believe the same thing, the best defense in the NFL. Like, go for it, because if we don't get it, our defense will take care of it. And I know Mike's different. I don't want to screw up because I've got the best defense. And hopefully at some point over the next few weeks and into the future, Mike can kind of turn. And we've seen that a little bit sometimes, where he'll put the pedal to the metal, or he'll go for it on fourth down. Like, I hope he gets to the point where he realizes I have something special with this defense, so I'm going to be more aggressive with my offense.
Yeah, hopefully. Islam's in here with Eamon Wari was awesome this past Sunday, and he's rightfully getting shine, but Spoon also had himself a clinic of a game. Also, Ernest Jones is one of the 5 to 8 top linebackers in the game. I totally agree with everything you said there, sir.
Amen. Ernest has had an unbelievable year.
Yeah, we got Skyrocket in here. Goes, go Hawks, baby, watching from the Philippines. Well, I appreciate you watching from all the way over there. Thank you for the support. It is greatly appreciated. What else we got? Sean's back in here. Can this defense compare to the last defense we played the Rams is better now than the last time we played them?
Yeah, Jared Reed, Julian Love, and Nicky Winworry's more comfortable.
Yep, I would say the defense will be better in the second matchup than it was As long as we get through this Colts game with no injuries or anything of significance, I think we'll be in a better spot.
And Ernest Jones was not 100%. Not that
Right.
he's
He
100%
was not.
now, but I think you get him back better and healthier, and then Jaron Reed back. That hopefully will help a few less explosive plays from Kyron Williams.
Agreed. And I think you saw that he doesn't wear his knee brace anymore. Like, I think he's back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it could also be interesting to see on the flip side of that what the O-line looks like with Sundell, because he missed that game if he's back. So we got one of our moderators, Ian Victor, in the chat. Always appreciate your work, Ian, in the chat and on the channel, helping out with that stuff and moderating with Amy. He goes, yeah, we don't have that blue chip pass rusher, but soon, before the 2026 season, we will have one, Michael.
He's wearing a silver helmet right now, and he looks very unhappy, but he's still playing great over in the Sin City. Hopefully he's available.
All right, Skyrocket back in here. Any news on Horton? When will he be available to play? This is interesting. I don't think anyone asked today about Horton in the Wednesday press conference. I didn't hear it. I haven't heard anything about Horton, really. I hope he's back for the Rams game. I think he'd be eligible to come back for that one, but I haven't really. We've got Alana in here with exactly. I noticed that. I've always liked Peely. Okay, so this is about the Brandon Peely comment about the factor he's been. Yeah, when he went out of the game, it definitely affected the run defense for sure. We've got John McGrath back in. Mills will be a monster for us when he gets on the field. Yeah, I'm excited to see if Riley Mills is a full participant now. I'm excited to see what he could look like maybe Carolina game.
Do you think they will play him this year?
Oh, I'll put it this way. I haven't seen enough from Mike Morris, even when he's played, to warrant not giving Mills, if he's healthy and they think he can actually be effective, a chance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, realistically, I don't see why you don't, because Mike Morris hasn't given you anything. Like, he won't be on this roster next year.
I agree.
Oh, here we go. We got Bo in here, goes, this is late in the year. I'm feeling kind of resigned to the fact that our run game is what it is. I think so. I think the run game will be better next year, because I think they'll have a better idea of, with the pieces they have here, what they're good at, what they're not. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the run game. Obviously, Coach Polamalu had to leave the team, and Mike said today it's for the remainder of the season. So hopefully everything's okay with him and his family. Yeah. But that's going to be a big blow, because he's probably one of the best running back coaches in the NFL. So I believe Otten's taking over, and Brian for the remainder of the season, but we'll see how that factors into this as well. And how that affects the running backs, because I know Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker really love Coach Polamalu. So hopefully everything's good on that front and whatnot. And maybe hopefully he's back next year. Trey comes in with, Coach, what position group do you think the Hawks will prioritize in the draft next year? Can you comment on whether they could trade for Max Crosby in the offseason? So I do think they will try and go back after Crosby. That is what I've heard from inside the building with people I know that are connected to the team, and with sources that I have that are connected to the team inside, that they made a strong push at the trade deadline. It didn't work out. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where I think John's going to go again, and that's the same feeling I'm getting from inside. Prioritizing in the draft, that's an interesting one. It's still 6 months out. I'd still have to see how they finish the year, if there's any injuries or anything like that. I could see corner being a priority. Running back, I think, could be a potential priority, depending on what they do with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. I also think even safety could be a spot. And, interior D tackle. I know a lot of people, I know Dan Vians just put out a Seahawk mock draft, and he had D tackle as one of his first round pick. You got to think, Big Cat's not exactly getting any younger. And I know he's playing really well, but he's still over 30. Jaron Reed's over 30. DeMarcus Lawrence is over 30. You're going to have to start filling some of those holes coming up. You will come up, and you're going to have to get younger. So I think D-line might actually be a sneaky priority high point for the Seahawks coming into this draft. All right. John, you're missing the one thing this team is missing, which is a game-changing D end. Agreed, John. Yep, they are missing that. We've got General Mayhem comes in. General Mayhem 12. I like that. That's a good name. Depth in linebackers possible. I will be interested to see what Seattle does at linebacker because I think they found their two starters right now in Drake Thomas and Ernest Jones. You have your backup, who I think is A+ backup right now, which is Tyrese Knight. I also know from what I've heard inside that they really like Paul Jr. So unless they don't bring Surratt back and they draft a guy to replace Surratt, and they also really like Patrick O'Connell, and you saw what O'Connell did in that Titans game, like he was flying around. I don't know if linebacker is such a possibility. I think they may draft somebody potentially for specialties, but I think your 4 linebackers are already on the roster going into camp. I think Thomas will be back, O'Connell will be back, Paul will be back, and Jones and Knight. So sorry, 5 will all be back. So maybe they add a couple more camp bodies, but you have 5 good, and you really only play 2 of them at the time because Nicky Manwari takes up snaps at linebacker as well.
That's the whole reason why it's not as much of a concern as it was earlier, because you have Nick.
We got one here from Kumar. Goes, I think the optics of Pete favoring past Seahawk players and the potential trading of Crosby to Seattle would have been a disastrous for his future there. I don't think Pete has a future there. Unfortunately. I love Pete Carroll. I think Pete's done. I think Gino's going to be out of there at the end of the season as well. I think they're going to really do mode. They're going to tear it down to the complete studs. I think Spytek will still be there as GM. I don't see him going anywhere because he is very close with Brady, and he was Brady's pick at GM. And I just think they're really going to go hard into the rebuild. And you know what? As much as people talk about Ben Johnson being the guy they were really trying to go through, you know who I think would have been probably the best guy for that franchise to start steering it in the right direction was probably Mike Vrabel.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I think even Vrabel, I think Vrabel is just that coach that's going to be successful wherever he is if he's allowed to have that balance of running it his way, but also like he needs to have a better relationship with his general manager and that front office staff. And I think in New England, they have figured that out. And you're seeing it right now where they've got something special, not just for this year, but for the future. Like you want to talk about the equivalent of like a bright future as the Seahawks, it's the Patriots on the other side.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Hot take from Brian Myers. Let Walker walk and trade for Breece Hall. Never know. I think one running back I will say if Seattle were to draft him in the draft that I'd be happy with is Jonah Coleman. He fits.
Why's that?
Actually, it has nothing to do with him being a Husky. I will point that out right now. I think he is your perfect blend of what you need in this offense with a guy that has enough explosive run capability, but enough power between the tackles to do both.
I agree, and I don't think Jeremiah Love's going to make it to where the Seahawks are picking in the first round, and so that's like the only other guy that I'm kind of like, that's a game changer on both those guys, whereas Coleman could be that guy that you can get in day 2 probably.
All right there, Mike. I think that's going to wrap up tonight's show, so I'll give you the final word. What do you have coming out on field goals, and what else is going on for you?
Yeah, no, just getting ready for the end of the season. Excited to be going to the game on Sunday. First game of the year. Hopefully not the last game. If there's some playoff games, I'll make my way, figure out how to get over there. Over at Field Goals, we got a lot of amazing stuff, as you know, Bryce. Every single day, there's multiple great stuff. We have so many good writers. I'll have my weekly 4-down territory column. Had that come out today, kind of talking about the Falcons game, Rashid Shaheed. I wrote a kind of a longer piece on 4th down about like it's time, like it's go time, like dream big. This is what it's all about. We're looking at a scenario where the Seahawks are going to have this game against the Rams that you want to exercise your Rams demons. Like you can do that on Thursday night next week. And then a couple weeks from now, you could be going to San Francisco, to Santa Clara to play for the number 1 seed, to play for the division, to lock all that up against the Niners. You could kill both of your big brothers essentially in the next month win the division, take the number 1 seed. And then another thing is like clinching all of that in Santa Clara and then being like, hey guys, let's come back here in 5 weeks. Like who says like let's come back here in 5 weeks and let's go finish the whole thing. And so I finished my article with like Seahawks fans, dream big. Like we're at the point now where it's okay to dream big. This like that'd be really cool if they ended up being this good towards the end, like kind of dream. That dream is very much a reality. It's a very difficult reality to walk through with what's ahead of them over the next couple of weeks, but it is very possible right now. Like things have gotten to like a very real stage, which is exciting. Draft stuff. I'll be putting out some stuff probably here in the next week. Kind of looking at the first round of the playoffs that are coming out here. I think that's on the 18th and 19th or the 19th and 20th. I'll be looking at draftable guys or guys of interest to watch for in each game. So all you James Madison Dukes out there, I know fans, you're all going to be really excited about who I've got for draft prospects and stuff. But a lot of these teams have some really interesting guys to look at. And then maybe a little bit of an NFL playoff prediction for the final 4 weeks of the season and how I think it'll shape up and who's going to be hosting the Lombardi Trophy.
That all sounds great. And yeah, if you guys don't already, go over, check out fieldgoals.com. Michael, Mookie, a bunch of the writers we have over there produce great content on a daily basis. So go over and check that out. Over here on the Hawks side, I'll have the Hawks Film Lab episode that I did with Dan coming out later this week. I'll also be doing a live preview show of the Colts game, probably on the weekend. So make sure you guys have your notifications checked for that. And also, guys, help me build the channel. Like, subscribe. I have applied for credentials at Senior Bowl this year, hopefully to join Dan Viens down there. And we'll be covering Senior Bowl live from Mobile. So I'm hoping to get that all squared away here and get my credentials. So any help with the channel and bumping its popularity, guys, will help me in achieving those type of goals. And there's some new cool stuff that's going to come in 2026. So make sure you're checked out for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
As for that, guys, we're going to wrap tonight's show up. So again, thank you all for being here. The 934 of you that watched tonight's show.
Let's go.
Truly appreciate it. And as always, stay loud, be proud, and go Hawks. Have a good night, everybody.